shop. Next episode in the Cadet Dozer build, maybe episode 9. Got my plasma table all hooked up, and we're going to fire it for the first time here in a second. So stand by for that. All right, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to make my very first attempt at a cut with this plasma table. I've got my XY0 set here. I'm just going to make a 2-inch cut on the y-axis and then stop. It's just a straight cut. I'm testing feed rate, pierce delay, that sort of thing. My refrigerated air dryer's been running. My air compressor's charged up. Got air. That looks like it worked perfectly. I'm kind of amazed. All right, so that was with 40 inches per minute cut rate, and pierce delay 1 second. Okay. I'm gonna try to cut a little tab out. I have a little flange thing I'm gonna try to cut. Let's see what that happens with that. Here we go. All right, so it's cut it out fine. Actually, the edge finish is very smooth. Very smooth. There's a little bit of dross, here on the bottom edge. Well, you can see that. And it cut into the metal there where it entered. So it's not entering on the inside of the circle and cutting, it's entering outside the circle and cutting. So that's an issue. But the surface finish on the edge here is phenomenal. All right, I'm going to just take a wheel and sand this off real quick.
I mean, the edge is cleaned up well. The issue I do have is the piercing is outside the circle instead of inside the circle. So, and it also pierced inside the rectangle, inside the square. So I need to figure out why it's doing that. But what little dross was on there came right off. And if you can see the edge finish, that's my air compressor coming on. So the edge finish is phenomenal. So I'm kind of thrilled with that. All right, let me look at the program and see what I need to do to fix that. Okay, so I've gone into Fusion 360 and I have another file that I created. I verified that its lead-ins are inside the circles, the holes, and outside the flange. I've set it to a feed rate of 40 inches per minute and a pierce delay of 0.8 seconds. I'm going to move the plasma, the torch to a new XY0, and we'll cut that and see what that looks like. All right, so here's my second attempt. I mean, the surface finish on the edge is really good. I got the cuts to enter in the inside the circle, so there's no, and outside the rectangle. This is 3/16. There's a little bit of dross on the underside here, but it's minimal. I mean, I'm not sure what to expect exactly in terms of, you know, what's the minimum. But, you know, that doesn't look bad. There is a little notch here. I'm not sure what caused that. I might, this is with a pierce delay of 0.8. I might do a 1 second pierce delay. But anyway, this, I'm excited about this. This is cool. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. Everything's working perfectly. Plug and play. All right. I think I'm going to cut out my engine plate. All right, this is the engine plate. I've got the XY axis zeroed out here. I'm going to do a dry run and then we'll cut it. I don't know if that could be any cooler. I mean, there's just a little bit of dross on the back, but the edge finish, well, there's some goof ups there, but most of the edge finish is very smooth. Yeah. So there's my engine plate. I am stoked. This is cool. Cool as can be. All right. So the engine plate, I just cleaned it up. I did discover here the holes I specified were 0.4 inches in diameter for 0.375 or 3/8 inch bolts, but they're a little tight. So I need to make sure that when I, part of the learning experience here, specifying the hole diameter for, that allows clearance for the bolts, because I guess there's a little bit of slag on the inside. Well, maybe if I sand this rest of this off here, it'll clean up. But anyway, minimal effort, just once around with a sanding disc, flap wheel, did pretty well. Here the start and stop positions, there's a little bit of roughness, but pretty much everywhere else the surface finish is fine. There's a little bit of taper. The plate looks like it's bent. I mean, the plate is warped, but the initial height, the torch height controller, has been able to maintain the height. There's a little bit of taper. on the edge. I don't know, you know, it tapers away, tapers out like this, just a hair. So anyway, this will work great. I'm stoked.
Come here, Boo Boo. Come here, Boo Boo. Come. It's thundering out. Come here, Boo Boo. Where's my Boo Boo? He's upset. And my Butchie. My Boo Boo. It's a little bit of thunder, but it's okay. He doesn't like thunder. Butchie couldn't care less. Yeah, Butchie's a good boy too. Where's Butchie? Come here. Oh, there he is. There's my butchie. Yeah. Brew Brew, come here. It's okay. Yeah. There's my good Brew Brew. My good Brew Brew. Yeah, my good boy. He doesn't like thunder. There's a little bit of thunder out. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Butchie doesn't care about the thunder, but he doesn't like Brutus getting all the attention either. All right. All right, we just about got this engine back together. The only thing left is the air cleaner on the carburetor. And I think I'm going to leave that off. That 3 screws hold that on. Air filter goes in there. And then this is the cover which goes over it. So I think I'll probably leave that off until we get the engine installed. No sense putting it on right now. Okay, so she's basically back together. Let's put the drive pulley on, fit that, see how that looks. I don't think I can do anything. Brutus is trying to climb on me because of the thunder outside. This episode, I've been working a little bit on the engine. I've got the engine reassembled and placed temporarily in the frame. I've got a couple of belts. Just happen to have a couple of belts left over from my grader project. So these are 31-inch belts, I think, AX 3050s. And the rotation is counterclockwise here. So this is the side of the belt that will be taut. So this is the side of the belt that we'll apply a tensioner to. So we need to have a tensioner on the belts in order to well, obviously change the belts. You need to be able to release the tension, but more importantly, you need to be able to release the tension in order to start the engine, because the engine starter does not have the power to turn over both of the transmissions in neutral simultaneously. It just doesn't. In my experience, it's problematic. It puts too much strain on the starter motor. So we detension the belts, start the engine, tension the belts, and if it's a spring-loaded tensioner, you know, it's easy enough to do. And that's there's an example of a spring-loaded tensioner on the channel for the motor, you know, on the motor grader. There is a tensioner that I built for the motor grader. Same idea looking at here, though we may do something a little different, don't know yet. In any case, got the engine sitting in here. Unfortunately, the engine plate I cut fit the engine fine, but there was an interference with the hole spacing for the holes that go into the frame. I didn't allow enough clearance for the bolt heads is the basic issue. Okay, so I'm working on a modification. I'm also going to add some slots to the plate for the bolt holes so I can adjust the position of the engine forward and backwards a little bit. I mean, the slots will be about 1 inch long, something like that. So I'll cut that plate out. I'll show you that when I get to do that. But I've got the engine sitting in here on the first engine plate that I cut out. You know, so it's doing its job for holding the engine in place. Now, one other issue that I'm looking at is the height of the motor versus the height of the dash and the grill. Normally in these tractors, the engine sits lower. So what I'm going to do is, at least I'm thinking about at this point, is an additional frame member here on top of this one. It'd be smaller, maybe something like this. This is inch and a half by 2.5. I have some 1.5 inches by 3, which is here, which I have in the saw, which is what I'm thinking about using, because I have like 40 feet of that. So I will build a frame member, sit it on top of this frame, and I think it's going to run all the way back here to the rear of the dash. So that will allow me to mount the hood, the grill a little bit higher, 3 inches higher, and you know, as you can see, I've had to block this up quite a bit, so it'll also allow me to mount this at a better height. So I think it will look a lot better to have that frame member. So that's one of the things I need to cut out. I'll miter it to fit the front, probably cut the back off at an angle. One other thing I'm looking at is thinking forward for the footwells. Right now, this frame, you know, sticks out from the lower frame by a couple inches. So it takes up, as a result, a couple inches of this space. So what I'm thinking about doing is cutting this off here. Well, I'll postpone that till I see what I need to do. I'm afraid that will weaken the frame. I'm afraid that would weaken the frame too much. I have to think about that. Okay, I know I need the additional frame member up here to raise the hood to clear the engine, so I'll work on that. Thinking about the tensioner. Haven't decided how I'm going to handle that yet, but we need to address that. Right now I've got 2 belts on and 2 spare belts also looped around the shaft down here, and I'll tie wrap them into position out of the way, so that if I ever need an additional belt, it's just a matter of pulling them up and rolling them over the pulleys. Okay, we'll cut some more steel. Okay, so you can see the additional frame member here. Really, it's a riser for the grill and the dash. So, of course, this will sit like that. That'll give clearance for the hood above the engine. It doesn't affect
access to the engine or anything. We can still pull the engine straight out if we have to ever. So it'll give us, we'll mount some tabs on here for the bolts for the dash tower, and then we'll drill and tap into the tubing for bolts to support the front grille casting. Okay, that gets us part way there. I'm getting ready to cut the footwells into the upper frame here. So I'm going to cut the frame at a 22.5-degree angle here, 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 and here. And that will allow me to miter the frame like this. And then like this. And the idea basically bringing the frame in 2 inches. So the frame, comes back, will jog in 2 inches, come back for 2 feet, jog back out 2 inches, and then continue back. So this will give space for your legs to go down to a footwell. So we need to have that for clearance for the operator's legs. So I'm going to cut the frame and then cut the miter segments, and we'll weld it all back together. So this gives you an idea of the miter section, and I'll have another one here, so it will create a space for your legs. right, I had to cut the lip off that angle with the plasma cutter in order to reach the vertical sides, which I can then cut off with the grinding disc. I may I was trying to be very careful here not to cut into the lower frame. Getting sparks in my hair. My hair's too thin, they hit my scalp. I was trying to be real careful not to cut into the lower frame. I think I succeeded without, you know, causing any structural issues to the lower frame there. We'll come back with some mitered pieces, tack them up, and then go from there. I think, as destructive as this, you know, appears to be, it's, you know, really not a big deal. This stuff cuts and welds easily, relatively easily, and you know, I did not think enough ahead about, you know, room for the operator's legs, but this will work. It's a little modification, mid-project modification, but I needed to have the engine in place in order to see, you know, what the seating position would be and kind of evaluate this. So, you know, as I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in the last video, we would wind up having to do something like this. So anyway, we'll come back with some mitered pieces. I'm fitting up the footwell indents on the upper frame rail. So I've got the sections mitered. I've got all the segments, but this one tacked on. So next thing I got to do is cut the pieces that run between here and here, which, you know, I'm going to use the pieces I cut out and just cut them to shorter length to fit in here. So bring you back when I've got a little more progress on the fit up here. I said I was going to record cutting out the replacement engine plate, and I got carried away and did it and forgot to put the camera on. But anyway, here's the replacement plate. It's got the slots. As I mentioned, I wanted to have adjustment slots here for the bolts that go into the frame. These 4 go into the engine, the oil pan. So these are slightly larger. They're 0.425 instead of, but I probably should have, you know, maybe made them 0.415 or 0.41. 0.40 is too small, a little bit. Anyway, they'll actually will work fine, and so there's very little dross on the back of this plate, and everything. The edge finish is great. So the plasma table is working
is working even better than I expected. So I'm, you know, I don't have any affiliation with Langmuir, but this is a great piece of equipment. I've read on the forum, you know, people having trouble with the torch firing or whatever. I've had zero issues. I mean, I set it to the recommended specs and it cut. So I got zero complaints. Anyway, okay. I just want to share that with you. That's cool. I've got the upper rail modifications for the footwells complete, at least tacked up anyway, not complete. So everything's tacked in position. You can see, so that gives you, that'll give me more room, a couple inches more room for the operator's feet to sit while he's operating. So it's just all tacked up right now. I'm going to weld it, bring you back when that's done. I've got the footwell cutouts welded and ground fairly smooth, so that'll work. I've also got the dash and grill support. This is just, these pieces are just cut out and are sitting on there. We'll weld them together, weld them to the frame up here. And so that'll support the dash tower and the front grille. And then we'll obviously have clearance here for our feet. The one thing I need to do next is block up the seat position. It needs to come up probably to the same height as this. So I'll cut out several more pieces and we'll stack them on top of here. That'll bring the seat up a little bit. And so that'll be the next episode. We'll finish the operator position, grill, hood, seat position. And then, you know, that gives us the exact locations for where we want to put the controls. And we can start next time on the hydrostat controls. We need to fabricate two levers with, they'll operate a rod between the frame with little arms that will carry connecting rods to the trunnions of the two hydrostats. And we'll need to fabricate them so that they operate, there goes my air dryer. They operate in a logical fashion. That is, when you push them forward, the tracks on the right and the tracks on the left go forward. If you pull one back, it goes backwards. Because the two hydrostats are basically facing in the same direction, that will require a reversal within the frame of the movement of the arms. They can't, we'll just need to fabricate a reversal mechanism so that when you push the lever forward, it actually moves the one trunnion in the opposite direction as the other trunnion. So we'll figure that out, and not too difficult. So we're going to wrap up this episode at this point. Appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell to be notified of upcoming episodes. And I appreciate everybody watching. I enjoy all your comments. Some great comments in the past couple episodes, suggestions and ideas, and it is really really appreciated. So thanks for following along. We'll see you guys next time.